Pirelli GT4 America returns to action this weekend at NOLA Motorsports Park, just outside of downtown New Orleans. 41 GT4 cars from 8 prestigious manufacturers are on hand for the next stop of this tremendously competitive series that started last month at Sonoma Raceway. The track may be flat, but don't let that fool you into thinking it lacks character. Flowing S's, bone-jarring bumps, and Mother Nature's whims all combine to make this 2.75-mile circuit one to be reckoned with. Hello, my name is Ryan Marine. Calvin Fish is alongside. Amanda Busick is in the pits. We talk about Mother Nature's whims, Calvin. They were in full effect yesterday. We were supposed to have race 1 on Saturday. Rain made that an impossibility, so this becomes race 1 of the weekend. Race 2 will be run at a later date. Everyone in this series chomping at the bit to get back on track.
Yes, and what a different day. Perfect conditions right now. Light breeze out there. Ambient temperature is much lower than we saw here on Friday. It was screaming into the mid-80s and above. So perfect race conditions, long race. Lots to do here with the tire wear. We'll talk about that a little bit deeper as we get into the show.
Let's learn more about Pirelli GT4 America from some of the protagonists themselves.
Right, GT4 is a production-based racing class. Not as high in performance as GT3, just a little bit below that. So it's a significantly altered car from your road-going vehicle. So it has racing suspension, racing brakes, obviously racing tires. And to the everyday person, you wouldn't recognize the interior because all of the interior has been taken out. We've got a racing seat and obviously all the appropriate safety devices.
The mixture of aerodynamic downforce and the amount of power and the amount of grip that the cars produce just makes for a good formula. You can follow really closely behind cars because there's not too much aero. Really good racing is just really what it comes down to. With GT4, you can do that and it makes it really fun.
There are 3 main classes in GT America. You have Am, Pro-Am, and Silver. Silver is where you have 2 pro drivers in the lineup, where Pro-Am is where you have a pro and an amateur, and Am is where you have 2 amateurs. And so it allows people of any degree to be able to be competitive in whatever category and whatever skill set they are driving at that moment.
So the sport is governed or dictated by different layers of driving ability and or age. I'm a bronze primarily due to my age, which means I'm over 40 years of age, shall we say. And so older people get lumped into the AM class, which is why I'm in the AM class. The silver is for drivers who are usually below 30 years of age or have had some success. Gold is even a little bit more successful than that. And then platinum are for the professional drivers.
Thanks, guys. That makes our job a little bit easier to explain some of the nuances of sports car racing and how it fits into Pirelli GT4 America. Great field of cars, as ever, about to roll out onto the racetrack. And Calvin, normally we're talking about the race format. 60 minutes, taking care of those tires because you got to make all 4 Pirellis make it to the distance. We do have a slight regulation change specifically for this weekend due to the fact that this track is very, very abrasive.
Yeah, essentially what the series has done is allowed all of the teams to have the option, it's not mandatory, to change 1 tire during that mandatory pit stop. So it's a joker tire, it doesn't come out from your allocation. And we're only running 1 race here this weekend, so it'll only come into play here today. We're going to do a makeup race at a different venue deeper into this race season. But I think it's a wise move. We did see some extreme wear rates on a couple of the manufacturers out there, but they're giving the option to all of the teams and drivers, so it's fair play all the way around. So plenty of time. We've got an 84-second pit lane time to not be below, and that should allow those teams to easily change that single tire if needed.
That will be done while the driver change is underway. All of these, of course, 2 driver lineups, as you heard our drivers explaining a little bit earlier. The field making its way out around this track, as mentioned, nearly 3 miles in length, 2.75 miles to be precise. 16 turns in an interesting mix of corners around this circuit.
It is. I like the layout. I like the flow, particularly for these GT4 cars. As Charlie Poston's alluded to, you can run these cars very close together, and that makes for some great side-by-side action around this very wide racetrack. Sector 1 is where the most overtaking will happen, down into turn 1, big brake zone there, but also into those long hairpin turns, turns 3 and 4, does create some opportunity there as well.
Let's go ahead and welcome in the 3rd member of our broadcast crew down in the pit lane. Hello, Amanda Busick.
Hey guys, and I absolutely love seeing Charlie Postins in that video just prior. I talked to him just briefly before this race, and you guys will remember they did not have the best outing in Sonoma, but said we're back where we should supposed to be, starting on pole in the AM class. Another car starting on pole is the one that everyone's talking about coming into the weekend. Mackay, that Conquest Mercedes swept the weekend in silver. Jesse Webb back on pole after he did that in Sonoma as well. You guys were chasing that RS1 Porsche last year. Now people are chasing you. Do you like this position better?
It is interesting to have the target reversed and put on your own back, but I think that it's also a healthy element for us as a team to learn from, and it's a privilege. You know what I mean? If you're going to be at the front of the field, hopefully you can do it in good faith and set a standard for people to get after and improve themselves as well.
I talked to Jesse just prior to the race. He said that it is going to be a battle into turn one here at NOLA. Is there a line that's preferred by drivers, or how do you survive that one?
Well, so for ourselves, I mean, the Mercedes, we're going to see how we fare come from the start line all the way down to turn one, the brake zone. Driver's right's a bit more bumpy, so it could be compromised trying to defend, but then you also have dirty, distracted. He'll manage it the best way he knows how. That's with instinct.
Good luck today.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amanda. Great to hear from Mackay Stevens sharing that pole-sitting car with the impressive young Canadian Jesse Webb. And one thing that came up in a conversation I had with Mackay earlier this weekend, the Mercedes is very quick, but it makes its speed in the corners, not so much on the straights. And for the pole-sitting car, could they be a little bit vulnerable heading to turn one on the initial start?
Yeah, for sure. I think managing that, you may want to bring them to the acceleration zone a little bit slower, and then just try and survive that run down into that brake zone and pick the optimum line there. I think once he gets through that first sector, that's where he needs to try and chase off a little bit and create that gap so he's not vulnerable when he gets to the straightaway once again.
How about this young Canadian Jesse Webb? John Farrow knows how to pick him, doesn't it? Everyone they plugged in alongside Mackay Stevens the last few years, they have been quick, and Webb is on pole yet again, his second pole already in the championship in just 2 qualifying attempts. He'll have Zach Anderson alongside. It's Gonzalez and Bohm in row 2. Harry Gottsacker, great to have him in the championship. He was just at the Nürburgring last weekend. Gray Newell will start. He's got a new co-driver with him this weekend in Roman DeAngelis. He starts 6th. It's Swearingen and Postins in row 4. Row 5 is Schwest and Hart. Allen and Walker Jr. in row 6. Francis Seldorf and Paul Sparta make up row 7. Then you find Johann Schwartz from Rooster Hall Racing. Rihanna O'Meara Hunt from the Heart of Racing team. Excited to have them back once again. Elias Sabo and Dan Hanley. Kevin Conway and Kalsa there making up row 10. Johnson and Toledo, Kaye and Owen as we get deeper and deeper into this field. So deep, in fact, 20-run rows. That's how far back we go. Tim Pappas and Black Swan with that beautiful McLaren Artura starting alongside Anthony Gerasi, Rob Ferriel, Chris Walsh, Behrman and Edge there in row number 15. Jaffe making his debut this weekend with that Extreme Velocity Motorsports team alongside Alan Stad. That car we're worried about because they had some issues in the GT America race with that chassis. Forbush and Harrison, Crines and Coleman, De Silva and Ruppel, Keebler and Peterman. Then we get to Shanny and Stone in the final row of this grid. It's a fantastic field as ever. GT4 globally is in rude health, and North America is no different.
Massive field. You got the dynamic of the various classes being mixed up here. So lots to look out for, but as we said, this racetrack allows you to get a little bit side by side and just give each other a little bit of breathing room, have some respect, and we can survive and have a great race here this afternoon.
2 by 2, 21 rows deep. That is the field ready to take the green flag for race 1 and the only race of the weekend at NOLA Motorsports Park, thanks to the rain yesterday. The Roval Pole Award winner, Jesse Webb, leads the field into the VP acceleration zone. He is in the Mercedes-Benz on the inside column to the left-hand side of the screen. It's Zach Anderson starting his outside for Auto Technic, just waiting to enter the VP acceleration zone and to see the green flag. There it is. Further in the field, we're already seeing 2, 3, 4 wide. It's 2 by 2 through the first 4 or 5 rows, making the run down to turn number 1. Who will get there first around the outside? Anderson looks like he'll snag the lead from the outside of the front row. A big move up the inside from Tyler Gonzalez. He's challenging for third. 3 and 4 wide through turn 1, but so far it is clean.
Really nice job there. Everyone surviving these very interesting opening corners here. Tires and pressures not quite into their sweet spot yet, so you're going to slip and slide just a little bit. But look at this, that Auto Technique BMW out front. The pole sitter's been dropped to third.
It's like we talked about, that Mercedes a little bit vulnerable in a straight line. It makes its speed elsewhere. Webb also light on experience in the GT4 car. Just one race weekend under his belt. Oh, and a big coming together here. Number of cars involved. Looks like one Porsche from NOLA Sport, the Todd Coleman Archangel Aston Martin as well. And there's a third car we could not identify. We stay green for the moment, but that looks like it has all the makings of a safety car.
That's a shame. So it looked like we'd got through those first corners relatively safely, and the safety car is out. So we'll arrest everyone's speed here and have a little bit of a reset.
And that was a frantic start, clean through the first third of the lap. A little bit further in the field, a few cars came together. This is how it happened.
There it is, right in turn 3. Just 3 cars get together there.
I think it's one of the Smooth Racing Supras. That's the third car in that mix. This is tough to see. Todd Coleman, Billy Johnson. Todd had a great run in GT America earlier today, but that car is done. You could see the right rear totally askew.
That's a shame, because that car, as you said, showed tremendous pace and form this morning in the GT America event, with Todd Coleman really starting to get up on the horse, so to speak, with as he's getting used to that new Aston Martin platform, switching over from the Toyota last year. So Billy Johnson once again frustrated. He's been in our championship a lot, but sometimes hasn't seen any race action. Not going to see any today, it looks like.
Well, how about that from Zach Anderson, starting on the outside of the front row, not waiting around, that's for sure. Grabbed the lead there into turn 1. An update on the 3 cars involved. David Peterman, that was the NOLA Sport Porsche that we saw. M-Class entry, tough for them. That team is based here at this racetrack. And David Peterman, it looks like, will not complete a lap. Todd Coleman, as we mentioned, saw that car limping back around. And Joey De Silva, indeed, the Smooth Racing Toyota Supra is the other car. And that's tough for Joey. He had to miss the races at Sonoma due to a non-racing related injury that he suffered, so didn't get to race there. Isabella Robusto, who did drive there, that's his normal co-driver, well, she was involved in a late model stock car accident last week, suffered a concussion, was not cleared to drive. That's the car. So she couldn't go here this weekend. And man, nothing has quite gone to plan for that injury all year.
No, that's a tough blow, because there's so much effort to get in here, not seeing the race start yesterday due to the weather, and now all of the effort that goes into. I often come to a racetrack and think about all the little tentacles from this paddock, how they all initiated to be here, and the effort and investment that goes in. You hate to see cars out so early in the race.
That's tough, especially for this group, because they did not run yesterday. They only get the one race here this weekend because of weather. That second race will be made up at a later date. And now the Smooth crew is going to take a look at this car that Joey De Silva started. How bad is the damage? Certainly the cosmetic damage you can see, but the real question is everything suspension-wise pointed the right direction?
Yeah, and that's really the key. And under normal circumstances, if this was race 1 with race 2 still to come, you'd maybe try and work on that car and almost use it as a bit of a test session, but they'll probably evaluate what the situation is if the damage is too bad. Main thing is the car's safe to run.
Yeah, that's right. The team, experienced bunch. They're supported by Ave Motorsports, and they'll take a good long look at it to make sure it is safe to continue if indeed they can. Yeah, tough break there for Joey De Silva, who ran a partial schedule for this team 1 year ago, has made sporadic appearances in the championship for several years now in various classes. A lot of experience in the touring car ranks.
And hearing from pit lane that they have made a decision they're going to be done for the day, unfortunately, the 67 car.
Okay. Yep, and that is the Smooth Racing car. The day is done, and they just barely complete a lap. And tough here for David Peterman as well for NOLA Sport.
60-minute race. You can see the clock winding down. That mandatory pit stop window was between 25 and 35 minutes into this race. And along with the mandatory driver change, single tire change is optional, no refueling.
Looking at the running order, you see on the left-hand side of the screen, silver class cars running 1 through 5 overall. Here's a look at the leader, though, in Pro-Am. It's Kurt Swearingen. Really cool story. ACI Motorsports is the team. Stalwarts in single-make Porsche racing over the years, but decided they wanted to try this out with different makes and models. And it's not like they were just nibbling around, testing the waters. No, they went all in. 3 cars in Pirelli GT4 America, plus a car at Fanatec GT World Challenge America powered by AWS, and Pedro Torres was the star of the show in the opening 10 minutes of the race yesterday.
Incredible run yesterday, and they had good form at Sonoma as well. So that's an interesting and really exciting new entry to our Fanatec GT Championship. But as you see the massive field here, the dynamic of the various class intermix. Charlie Poston starting from the AM pole. Ian Clay, James Clay had an awesome season last year. I think got 7 victories on the year,
Correct.
Ryan, and claimed the AM championship. Alan Stadd has made a move to the Rotec racing team. He finished 2nd in that championship last year.
That's right. And for Postons and Clay, not just winning the championship. Oh, some interested spectators here trackside. I think you saw some of those on a swamp tour the other day, right?
I did. I have a lot of gators on my doorstep.
That's true.
Not literally, but almost in Hilton Head where I live. But we had a fun night with the whole SRO team. Had a couple of those swamp buggy airboats out there, and we had some fun. Fed some gators. I didn't get too close, but Jack Baldwin, who's the series manager, was tapping a couple of gators on the head.
I wouldn't want to get too close because we might have ate one of their buddies last night when we went out to dinner and had some of the world-famous gator bites from this part of the world. I'd rather be biting the gator than the other way around.
I think the gator was looking at Jack and saying, what sort of species is that?
It's a question we've all pondered from time to time. But quickly back to the Postons and James Clay's story. They did win that AM championship like you mentioned last year. 7 wins, 11 podiums, and the 2 of them together both won the BMW M Sports Trophy, which is an award that BMW hands out to some of their top customer drivers, and that's a big prestigious award that went their way. You know, the funny thing is, we talked to Charlie towards the end of the year, and he said, yeah, I don't think the year could go any better than this. I'm probably done. Well, that didn't last long. He's back, and they're looking to defend the crown.
Sounded like a wise decision back in October. But you sit around the Christmas dinner table, and things start to change as the season is getting closer.
Exactly. Unfortunately, behind the safety cars, the cleanup continues. Lap 1 incident that took out Joey De Silva and David Peterman out of the AM class, Todd Coleman from the Pro-Am ranks. Those cars will take no further part in today's activities. So our field now down from 42 starters to 39. It was a late addition. In fact, the car that is leading did not appear on the initial entry list. This one right here, Zach Anderson and John Capestro Dubets. So that bumped our field from 41 to 42. And that's a driver lineup. We talked about this at Sonoma that we think could be very, very strong in the silver class.
Oh, both of those drivers have had tremendous performance over the last 2 or 3 seasons. John Capestro Dubets, JCD as we like to call him. It's a bit of a mouthful in the middle of the action to call his full name. But and Zach Anderson had a championship with Sean Gibbons a couple of years ago, I believe.
2020 in the AM class, that's right. And since then, his starts have been more sporadic. Did run the full season last year, finished 4th at the championship, 9 podiums alongside Austin Smith. But now, that was also in the silver class. But now paired with a guy like John Capestro Dubets, who has a ton of experience, is one of those almost unheralded aces in a BMW GT4 car. Everywhere he turns up, he goes to the pointy end quick.
Yeah, it reminds me kind of the Greg Learfouge mold. Yep. You know, great coach and a great co-driver, and just rings the neck of one of those BMWs. Certainly maximizes their performance.
Yeah, that's right. That's why we think with that Autotechnic team behind them, they could be incredibly strong. Look how deep the AM field is this year. You can see that broken out there. All the the red number plates on the left-hand side. Those are AM class cars. And it's not a total surprise to see them running in the top 10 like Charlie Poston's is right now. Well, while we have a moment behind the safety car, let's hear from some of the drivers who are waiting to get aboard in the second stint. Amanda is standing by.
Well, you mentioned Charlie Poston's. I deliver you James Clay. And when I talked to Charlie just prior to the race, he was kind of reflecting on Sonoma and said, that's over, but we're back right where we should be. You guys are the reigning champions, but being at this track, coming back here, is it a reset mentality for you guys?
You know, I think the worst thing you can do is decide you're going to do a reset or decide you're going to change plans, because quite honestly, when we just do what we do really well. So it was a little bit of a weird event here last year. There was the big wreck on the first race. There was this crazy rain race. We had a mechanical with our car. So, you know, really the cars have been performing incredibly well. The Bimmer World guys have been absolutely crushing it all weekend. We just need to get out here and do our thing. And only one race this weekend to do so. But the car's fast. Charlie's good. He's front of our class. So I think it's going to be a good weekend.
We're counting down moments to the restart. Any advice over to Charlie for this one?
Stay clean, go fast. I'm sure he's got it.
Words to live by in this sport.
See what Amanda did there. I deliver you. Poston's teammate.
Very nice.
Put the stamp on that one.
Well, James, such a good resource for Charlie. Of course, he's the man behind the Bimmer World operation. Former touring car champion as well. So much experience within this paddock going back to the Pirelli World Challenge, and sponsors even preceding Pirelli going back quite a number of years.
Everyone now is getting those tires prepped, getting those cleaned off, trying to scrub them as best you can. You can actually just crank in a bunch of steering input and like plow the car, get those fronts cleaned off, power against it, sort of like two-pedal it, throttle and brake at the same time.
Looking further back in the train, the primarily blue Aston that's coming through the center of the picture right there, that is Gray Newell, who did a great job in qualifying, top 10 overall. Has a new co-driver for the weekend and for the rest of the season, actually, Roman DeAngelis, who is an ace in the GT3 car for the Heart of Racing team. Found out he was going to be coming here last Saturday, that it even might be a possibility. Of course, the Heart of Racing's been in the news. They picked up an entry in the World Endurance Championship that was vacated when Paul Dall'Anna, longtime customer for Aston Martin Racing, announced his rather sudden retirement from racing to focus on business ventures. That meant that a lot of the Heart of Racing folks, including team principal and Gray's normal co-driver, Ian James, had to go over to Spa, where they raced yesterday. Not sure how that went. I didn't see what the results were, but that meant a late call-up for Roman DeAngelis, and he's been pretty quick all weekend. We'll have to keep an eye on that car as we get to the second half of the race when Roman gets plugged in. Safety car is off, 46.5 minutes remain, and here we go into the VP acceleration zone. The leader, Zach Anderson, already cars pulling out of line. They can do that once the green flag is displayed, and here we go into turn one. Anderson seems to be solidly in the lead, but the fight is on further back. Here comes Kevin Boehm around the outside of Jesse Webb, and it looks like he'll grab third.
Wow, for our pole sitter, two disappointing starts here with the initial start. Now this reset, now he goes back on the attack, looks to the inside for turn three. Does he send it in there? No, gives it up a little bit. Kevin Boehm, great job there. Aboard the Random Vandals machine, supported by CrowdStrike. Here we go. Can Webb do anything? Looks to the inside.
Boehm, a champion the last 2 years in the touring car ranks. Webb has touring car credentials as well up north of the border in Canada, but both sparring in GT4 machinery now.
Start to settle in. Gonzalez was tucked right up the tailpipes of Zach Anderson for that start, but couldn't do anything with the Supra that he's on board. So certainly this BMW is looking strong here this weekend.
Talking about Random Vandals, this is the sister car. Paul Sparta, Al Carter, the two drivers in the AM class, and coming under some pressure right here. It's Elias Sabo, already a race winner today. Picked up a big win in GT America competition in a similar GT4 machine from the Flying Lizard stable.
Yeah, boy, did he put a move on into turn 13, which is coming up in a moment. Let's see if he can cut and paste that move. Side-by-side action here. A bunch of BMWs all together.
No shortage of these new BMW M4 GT4s in this field. I think a smattering of the previous generation around as well. Back at the front, it is the BMW Rondell leading the way. First full green lap, and Anderson has built a gap of 0.8 of a second. Bowman now runs third. Webb is fourth. Gottsacker fifth. Swearingen leading the way in his class, but sixth overall.
Big names there at the front of this pack. Harry Gottsacker of the STR 38 Motorsports BMW sits there in P5, going to share that car with Chandler Hull here this weekend. They're looking for another podium run. Chandler obviously had a different co-driver, John Miller, who's now kind of the team principal there, co-drove with him at Sonoma.
Got a chance to plug Harry Gottsacker into that car. He's been a part of the program in various races that they've run around the world in recent years, so that should be an easy fit. Battle for the Pro-Am lead. First, second, and third all there together. Leading the way, Swearingen, then Newell, and Ross Schwest, who also is a winner in GT America competition this weekend. He won race 1 yesterday.
His family built the track, so
That's
he
right.
knows it well, even though he said, until we competed here last year, I really didn't pay a lot of attention to getting laps around here. I'm sure that has changed since that time. Great victory yesterday in GT America competition.
All right, he has a couple to his name. One at St. Petersburg, 2 in GT America, but he and Aaron Povoleto certainly figure to be a factor. Looked like Swearingen left the door a little bit open there, but not sure Newell was able to take advantage. Oh, we got a car beached. It's the 09 machine. Chris Ruppel, Zotz Racing, the team. Another one of those AM class cars, and we're gonna need the safety car. There it is. That breaks off a number of interesting battles around the track. Does not look like Ruppel's getting out of there without a tow, and this is how it happened, or at least the tail end of it.
Is that coming through turn 5, 6 there, maybe? Either way, just absolutely beast. Look at that one. Absolutely up to the axles and beyond. You find a pea gravel in that machine for about 3 months.
I'm afraid you're right.
But this is interesting because what it does, it really compresses this field as we're getting very close to the pit stop window. So if it stays under full course yellow, the pit stop window will be delayed in opening. But for guys like Terry Borchell, who's going to share that AM entry with Nick Janney, I mean, that's going to really create a good opportunity for them coming off that awesome AM class and overall win at Sonoma.
Right.
And that's what you're looking for. You want to come out with not a big deficit. And Janney's really learning fast, and his speed is getting more and more impressive every single weekend. But when you got the speed of Terry Borchell as your teammate, and he suddenly gets in the car with not a big gap between the cars in front of him, gives him the ability to go to work.
Well, we've seen what he could do. He's still as quick as they come. Might be a bronze technically by FIA regulation, but he can stick it up on the overall pole. He did that a couple times last year, and we'll expect to see him run towards the front. This is definitely playing into that team's favor, these 2 safety cars early in stint number 1. The other thing this does, we talked about the regulation change for the weekend where you have the option to change a single tire due to the high tire wear that we see around this track, which is based on this specific track surface. It is optional. So with so much safety car running, maybe you don't expect to see, especially for some of the cars that aren't seeing as much wear. Do you take the risk? I mean, all you're doing when you're adding that tire change is adding more variables to the pit stop for something to go wrong.
Yeah, certainly it can go wrong. A good crew should have no issue changing one tire with the amount of time that the car's sitting still. And I think you're not going to look at a tire this early in the going and say, hey, we need to change it. You're really forecasting what it's going to be like at the end of the race. So if it was me, I would be taking it because there's a performance advantage to have a fresh tire on. There's no deficit in the pits as long as you execute. So, but we'll see. There'll be teams have a different take on that. Maybe keep the temperature in the tire, things like that. You're not allowed to use tire ovens or blankets in this championship, so you'll be putting a cold Pirelli slick back on the car. But new rubber, and most drivers like new rubber.
We'll see what teams elect to do. That window normally would open with 35 minutes left in the race and last for 10 minutes. If the safety car were to impinge upon that, then they would push that window back. We'll have to see how race control elects to play that. Shouldn't be a super long cleanup, I wouldn't think, just to get that car out of the gravel and then sweep any of the gravel that falls out off of the track. So hopefully we can resume and the pit window is not affected by this full course yellow. The second of the day, Zach Anderson continues to show the way. Started on the outside of the front row, took the lead into turn 1 on lap 1. Tyler Gonzalez was able to follow him through not too long after that. Around Jesse Webb, who's now fallen to 4th. Kevin Bohm making that transition from front-wheel drive touring cars, all he's ever driven in his career, to this rear-wheel drive GT4 car. Still drinking from the fire hose, but that said, very, very quick. So, let's take this chance to go to the pit lane. We've talked about Kurt Swearingen leading in Pro-Am. His co-driver is the rapid Dutchman, Kai van Berlo.
Well, Kai, the guys were just talking about the tire degradation that we see here at NOLA from the practice that you guys had here through qualifying. What can you tell us from your experience?
I mean, it's been pretty okay for us so far. We were struggling a little bit on Friday when it was really hot outside, but so far yesterday in qualifying it was a bit cooler and that seemed to work out well for the Porsche. And again today, it's a little warmer than yesterday, but it still isn't the same as it was Friday afternoon. So I think so far we seem to be in pretty good shape, and I'm pretty confident that the car's going to be all right as well.
You guys started P2 on track. Kurt was able to get the overtake on Gray as we kicked off the race. What are you seeing from the Porsche so far that you like?
I mean, I'm enjoying driving the Porsche. We've been quick in Sonoma, we've been quick here, we did a test, and the Porsche has always been, really good to us. We did some fine-tuning, and it's gotten better over the weekend, and now the fact that Kurt just took P1 just confirms that we're on the right track to a good result.
As Ryan tossed to this interview, he said the Flying Dutchman. When did you pick up that one?
Oh, I did. I never heard about it. I never heard him say that, at least. Someone has said it before. But, I mean, I'm just here trying to do the best I can. We've had some bad luck in Sonoma, even though we had some great speed. Again, this weekend, the ACI car has some great speed again. The boys have done a great job, and we're in there for the win. So just got to get it done, be quick, be safe, and make no mistakes, and then we'll see how it ends.
You heard it here first, Kai. It's interesting. He came stateside to study business management at the University of Miami, but he's not your average college student. He's still wrapping up his degree right now. Last year alone, he won the 24 Hours of Daytona in a prototype, and he also won the Endurance Cup in the LMP3 class over at IMSA. And he's quick in GT cars. His brother Glenn is a rising star, too. This is a family to keep an eye on.
He's the real deal. Certainly taken note of his speed over the last couple of seasons when head-to-head with Andy Prio's son, Sebi, a couple of years ago. Just missed out on the championship that season. But an amazing talent, and as normal with these young Dutch kids, big personality. You can tell that's fun to have him around. Yeah,
2021, it was the year in Carrera Cup where he finished second in that championship, driving for the Kelly Moss team, and is such a powerhouse in single-make Porsche racing. Probably one of the teams he was up against, in fact, was this ACI Motorsports team. And Kai was telling me earlier in the weekend, I asked him, how did this get put together that you would race with Kurt? And he said, actually, Kurt was nice and let me pass one time in a race, and because we weren't in the same class, and that's how we started talking. Next thing you know, they're racing side by side here in Pirelli GT4 America, right now leading their class.
And I know here the car 26 is under investigation for incorrect starting driver, so maybe some of the teams were thinking, oh, it's a Sunday race, so we're going to use our race 2 driver lineup. But this is race 1 for the weekend, so it would have been your qualifying session driver, the first session that had to make the start here today, but we'll try and get that clarified for you, and the pit window has been delayed.
The 26, by the way, is the second Heart of Racing Aston Martin, so Rihanna O'Meara Hunt is the driver shown as the starting driver. That's an AM class entry, so further complicating things. The race 1, race 2 thing is definitely a possible explanation, and then the fact you have 2 identically graded drivers, it's an AM class entry. You have to make sure you get that paperwork in and you follow that throughout the course of the weekend.
Surprises me because it's a 2-car entry, and it's not like they like to do a switch around Newell and Roman DeAngelis. So I wonder if it's a paperwork issue from initially the series identifying who did qualify for which session, but we'll get that straightened out for you.
Rihanna comes to this championship from New Zealand, her native New Zealand, where she raced in the Toyota 86 championship, won a shootout to have a seat in this car alongside Anna Grisham, who we'll see a little bit later on. Really neat initiative that the Heart of Racing has been developing to identify and promote promising female racing drivers. I did overhear Rihanna talking to somebody in the paddock who asked her what she thought of the track. This was total eavesdropping on my part, I have to admit. But she said, this is the car that was stuck, by the way, so it's been released. She said she really likes it. She said it reminds her of a track back home. Didn't catch which one it was, but she said the thing that she likes the most about it is that you can go bouncing over the curbs. And we've seen a lot of drivers doing that here this weekend. So we saw the stranded car return to the pits. The lights are off on the safety car, and we're about to go back to racing.
Watch Gonzalez there in the second car, the number 74, that Toyota Supra, white and orange machine right there.
Driving for Copeland Motorsports, really good little team. Quick in just about everything they turn up in. Right now running second, and he has an eye on going for the lead into the acceleration zone, and Anderson is able to jet away, but to what extent? Hard to tell from that camera shot. Here comes Gonzalez.
Yeah.
Bohm takes a peek to the outside. He's got designs on second spot, and look at that. Kevin Bohm, the reigning TC champion, grabs P2.
Yeah, it's hard to tell there, but Anderson got the jump there, and suddenly Gonzalez had to try and protect from Kevin Bohm, but Bohm got it done around the outside. He's getting to grips with this machine in a hurry, coming off a great podium run to start the season. Had some technical issues, he and Kenton Cook, in race 2 at Sonoma.
Looked like Ray Newell had a lockup. That's allowing Ross Schwest to challenge for second in Pro-Am, side by side for second. All of this behind Anderson. Bohm has the spot. Gonzalez trying to take it away, and right there behind is the pole sitter, Jesse Webb. We know that Mercedes is quick. It just hasn't been great on the starts and restarts.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to him to really establish his rhythm now, because he's dropped 3 spots and he's got attention from behind from another very fast BMW with Harry Gottsacker.
Harry right there in line. 5 silver class cars running 1st through 5th. Then you get to the Pro-Am leader, the green Porsche, Kurt Swearingen. Newell and Schwest 2nd and 3rd in that class, with Matt Travis lurking. He has been the benchmark AM driver in this championship for a number of years. He and Jason Hart finally won a championship a couple of years ago. They were away for a year, but they're back now, and Travis has that car in contention for a podium.
James Walker Jr. there aboard the 82, feeling the heat from Johann Schwartz, and now where pit lane is open, window is open, and everyone piles in.
Not a surprise, especially for these Pro-Am cars. You want to get your pros in as soon as possible. Slightly different thought process for some of the silver class cars. Harry Gottsacker stays out and cycles to the lead. Same story for Allen, who's leading in the AM class. That's interesting. And Conway in a Pro-Am entry for Smooch Racing, staying out, cycling up to 3rd.
See some tire pressure adjustments. Haven't seen anyone elect to get the car on jacks yet and do that single tire change, which is allowed, as we talked about earlier in the show. So split of strategies here with the Heart of Racing number 26 staying out. And as you alluded to, if you've got an equal driver pairing, maybe you can get some nice clean laps here. Not a lot of traffic out on the racetrack. Essentially do the overcut, pit a little bit later. And the one gamble you have in there, if there's a further incident and the safety car should come out, that would really throw that whole strategy upside down.
A couple other cars that stayed out. Rihanna O'Meara Hunt. Still not sure about that potential penalty there, but that's the Aston Martin in the picture. Right behind is Anthony Girazzi from Krug Speed in the Supra. Really good fight here for 2nd in the AM class. Girazzi to the inside. This is going to be interesting. Ultimately, discretion, the better part of valor, and backed out of what would have been a high commitment move.
Look at that, how tight it was on pit out. That's Robert DeAngelis there. It'll be Jason Hart jumping on board the number 47 NOLA Sport Racing entry.
For DeAngelis, he knows the GT3 Aston really well. He's driven the GT4 car, but not that much. And he said it did need to go through a little refresher course on knowing what all the buttons and switches do.
Sure. But he's a talent. He'll be
For
up to
sure.
speed immediately and looking to try and get that car on a podium at least, if not more. See the 44 car. Johann Schwartz was not happy with his qualifying performance. He's trying to straighten that out here. He'll share that car with Colin Garrett. He's already seen GT4 action here earlier this morning.
You might have seen a car just going 4 wheels off at the back of that shot. Didn't quite catch who it was. Everyone struggling to get to grips with their race cars. Fresh out of the pits, tough situation, but you know, that's what these pros are so good at, being right on the pace right away.
And that is the key. Curious to know if any team did elect to change one of those tires. As you said, we hadn't seen a lot of green flag action, so the wear rate would be down, and 92 car. Wow, what a disappointment. Is that a quick reset here for Kendrick Cook?
It is. That was a top 3 overall car going into the pit cycle. Not sure what caused it. But that clearly is going to cost a great deal of track position. Kenton Cook and Kevin Boehm after a great stint from Kevin.
Yeah, assuming that was a Control-Alt-Delete, just reset the computer or something. Something went amiss after he left pit lane.
One of the STR38 cars certainly will pick up the number on it. I think it is. Car that Harry Godsacker started. We'll let everything cycle through. Always tough to tell exactly where everyone fits in the middle of this pit window.
Yeah, well, that was the overcut wasn't going to work, so he's a little bit deeper in the field, so it was going to be tough to grab the lead here for Chandler Hunter, who should be on board right now. There you see him, his acronym coming up on the windshield to give you an indication who's behind the wheel now. So
Mackay Stevens going hunting at the moment. We know that car is really, really quick.
it should ultimately be for the lead battle amongst these cars. A couple of teams have elected to keep their drivers still out there and haven't made their pit stop yet.
Amanda reports that Random Vandals elected to use that Joker tire left front on both of their cars.
It seems like the BMWs were concerned with left front, Mercedes left rear, so as said to the teams, it's up to you. You're allowed one tire and use it if you want to, and on any corner of the car that you want to.
One of the Random Vandal cars there in that picture, the green car going away in a fight with the Cruise Speed Toyota. Oh, look at Mackay Stevens. He wants by Chandler Hall in the worst way.
Yeah, this could be a good little battle here, but you'd have to expect the BMW maybe have the edge here down towards the turn one braking zone, so it's going to be a tall order. No pun or fun intended there with that call on Mackay.
That's right. Yeah, this is tough here for Stevens, and he's talked to me about this before. This car, it can turn fast lap times, but it's hard to race when you can't draw even down the straightaway. Spin for one of the Valkyrie cars, number 97. Sam Owen now the driver there. That's an M-Class entry. Shares that car with Sean Gibbons. Racing at that team's home track at VIR a little bit later in the year. Battle for second in the silver class. Hull has it. And Mackay Stevens, the Chicago native, trying to muscle past.
Good battle right behind them with Kai Van Berlo putting the pressure here on, should be Tyler Maxson behind the wheel, correct?
Yes, the two Tylers. We believe Gonzalez started. That would mean Maxson would be taking over. The two that have paired up in touring car racing quite a bit in recent years for the Copeland team. Back together again, but this time in the GT4 car.
Chandler Hull, busy boy this weekend, pulling double duty. Will share the Bimmerworld BMW M4. This Harry Gottsacker watching his teammate go to work, but Chandler will be sharing car will be a BMW legend, Bill Aublin. Almost pulled off a victory late in the going yesterday, ended up with a podium result in Fanatec GT, so it's been a successful weekend for Chandler so far.
It has. He's got his hands full. Mackay Stevens working him over left and right, doing everything but using that chrome horn. I don't know how long that's going to last, though. He might start to lose his patience after a little while. He clearly has some pace.
Well, the BMW is going to have good form here. It's got good tires still underneath it. So as we get deeper into this race, maybe the last 10, 15 minutes, he's got to keep it close and maybe hope that his tire management and the ability. Oh, Van Berlo, big late move down to the inside. Can he keep it together? No, Tyler sweeps around the outside.
Nice racecraft there from Tyler Maxson, letting that sift through. And what that has done is it has cost Kai Van Berlo relative to Roman DeAngelis. This is for the lead in Pro-Am. DeAngelis in the heart of racing. Aston coming up to the inside. Now he's going to have to go the long way around. They still have Maxson to deal with in front of him, out of class, but very much a part of this battle.
Yeah, that's such a weird dynamic when you're just trying to make a move on a car that's not in the class lead battle, and it's allowing DeAngelis to just suddenly hone in on the leader right now.
And NOLA Sport executed during their pit stop. Jason Hart up to third in the car that Matt Travis started. He's not far behind this group. We've been catching snatches of him in the picture. Not far behind this battle. Oh, and Mackay has made the pass.
Yeah, that's big. Not sure where that occurred, but I would assume through sector 1 somewhere. That's where the prime overtaking opportunities are. So Mackay's now going to try and escape his attention here before he gets to that front straightaway. Doesn't want to give that position back immediately. So this is almost like hammer time, like a quali lap he's putting together here to gap the BMW behind him.
Exactly, because this is where his Mercedes is a little bit vulnerable relative to the BMW.
Kai just hit pit lane, didn't he?
You're right. This is right there. Drive-through penalty, jumped, restart. Kai Van Berlo. Now, the rules have changed a little bit since last year, Calvin. What are the regulations this year?
Well, basically, when it goes green, you're allowed to go and start passing. So I'm not sure whether he just passed before it even went green. That's the only way you can really jump it these days. Oh, look at this. Big move there by Chandler Hull down to the inside. And that's what that speed of the BMW allows their drivers to do, get ever closer and be into shouting range for that pass and opportunity.
Let's hear more about the Chandler Hull car with the man who started the race in that machine. Harry Gottsacker is with Amanda.
Well, they didn't implement that Joker tire during the driver change, but taking a little gamble with tire strategy here this weekend. Harry, what's that?
Yeah, you know, in qualifying, we opted to use the same set of tires for both qualifying. A bit of a gamble, but it enables us to kind of have a sticker set for one of the days that we choose. So far, it's paying off. You know, the car, our M4 GT4, felt great for that little crazy stint right there. But yeah, now it's up to Chandler to see what we can do. Thank you.
Really talented driver, Harry Gottsacker. Grew up karting against the likes of Pato O'Ward, current IndyCar star. When Pato made his IndyCar debut at COTA, I remember bumping into Harry on the grid. What are you doing here? Oh, yeah, I'm just best friends with Pato.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Didn't know that, but I love the strategy. You got an allocation of tires, and normally you'll put a fresh set of stickers on for both qualifying drivers. They elected to have Chandler Hull suck it up a little bit for qualifying for day 2, but the way it's worked out great. It gives them a fresh, complete set of tires for this race here. That's why they got such great pace.
This gaggle of cars is what makes Pirelli GT4 America Racing so interesting. You've got a total mix of cars. We were looking at Andy Lee, Robert Mao, James Clay, Andrew Davis. In those names I mentioned, there are 3 different classes represented. They're all there together, mixing it up, fighting for their own positions, fighting for track positions so they can get to the next car in class. It's a lot to have to sort through mentally behind the wheel.
Chandler Hull is not allowing Mackay Stevens to escape his attention here. JCD has about a 2.5, 2 3/4 second gap right now.
Mackay was the quicker of the 2 relative to JCD on that last lap. Hull was actually quicker than the both of them. And then this is a car to keep an eye on too. This is now the leader in Pro-Am after that penalty to the ACI Motorsports car of Kai Van Berlo. Roman DeAngelis, who didn't know that he would even have to think about coming to this racetrack until, about a week ago, finds himself in the class lead.
Yeah, but he's got someone who's a little bit tasty around this place. Jason Hart giving chase right now aboard that NOLA Sport Racing entry, obviously by the name. You know, they're based here in this area. So They've had success, got off their season, reunited the champions from 2021.
It is not the leader. This is the AM class entry, and apparently Rob Walker just pulled off with some kind of a technical issue.
I believe. As close as we'd like to see the guys into that safe haven, so a bit of a decision to be made for the stewards if they feel if that can't be moved into a completely safe haven. But here's Chandler Hull keeping the pressure on, deep on the brakes there on Mackay Stevens.
This has been remarkable. I kind of thought with the pace behind the BMW that we saw out of Mackay that once he got around, he'd start to pull away and maybe even make some inroads on the leader, John Capestro Dubets, but it's not been that way at all. Chandler Hull has gotten into a great rhythm and is not letting Mackay Stevens skip away.
Yeah, Chandler's just got a ton of experience and seat time over the last 3 or 4 seasons, and now really established himself as a really solid driver at this level. And you can see that by the pressure he's putting on. Mackay Stevens gets to the inside as they start to hit the high-speed S's.
2 of the young up-and-coming Americans in GT racing. Mackay Stevens, he really had to, oh, safety car is out. That breaks off this battle. I imagine that's for that stranded car, couldn't get going again.
Concerned, just kind of in no man's land there, and if you have an issue, 2 cars can lock horns. They're going through that corner and spare off if there's any broken suspension components, so you got to make that call. They will communicate with the driver and team if possible to see if there's the feasibility of moving it at least, but you can see it's still stuck there.
Normally you'd say this is great for Mackay Stevens because it erases a 3-second gap to the leader, but with the way starts and restarts have gone, especially for his teammate earlier, I'm not so sure this is welcome. Yeah, exactly. Definitely brings Jason Hart back up to the rear deck of Roman DeAngelis. Povolato, don't sleep on him. That Schwest Povolato racing team, Ross did a great job. Ross Schwest in the opening stints.
They've had a great start to their season.
Yeah.
Solid, solid, solid at Sonoma.
No kidding. It's all mixed up now. Interesting too, not sure how this played out exactly, but Robert Mao is leading in AM. Somehow they were able to get around, that's the STR38 team, they were able to get around the Clay and Poston's car in that pit cycle. But James has been closing in, or he was prior to the safety car. That's something to keep an eye on too. 17 minutes to go. Run under the safety car for the 3rd time in the one and only race of the weekend for Pirelli GT4 America. If you missed it, yesterday was supposed to be race 1. A lot of rain in the area delayed the schedule. Time constraints crept in, so just a single race this weekend. The second one will be made up at a future date. So this is the one chance to make an impact on points here at this track. If this is a track that's good for you, that is not good news. If it's a track where maybe your package isn't quite as strong, yeah, I think that was a decision that was quite welcomed.
Yes, for sure. Be some smiling faces and some frowns at the same time. Nonetheless, all you can do is deal with the cards and just focus forward here on executing here in race 1. Car's been through the wars. That BMW just came in the frame. There's dirt and bugs everywhere on the front of that.
Let's go back to the pits and hear from Amanda.
Well, Chris Allen was excited about getting the lead, said we got it because we go fast over here, but there was a nice little grin from you when you guys took that lead. What are you seeing here in the BMW that inspires you?
I think we've got a great team here at STR38. I mean, can't be upset about running first in class, under caution, whatever, it is what it is. And yeah, we're just happy to be here. My co-driver Robert Mao's out there right now, doing a good job, holding position for now. And yeah, see if we can push to the end and hopefully hold on to that top spot in class.
You guys had a runner-up finish in Sonoma, now coming in here looking strong. Thoughts on the season ahead and what can we expect from this duo?
looking forward to running the full season with Rob as my co-driver with STR38. And yeah, just happy to be here. I think the New Orleans track here suits the BMW a bit better than Sonoma, and we have high hopes for COTA. But let's see how this one pans out before we say anything.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
They essentially did a nice job of their strategy there. They kept Chris out there as everyone else was pitting. And that's how they assumed that track position. See the 23 car here with an issue. Not sure if he took a wave by or something. Is trying to get back on the correct lap. Timing and scoring momentarily had this car in the lead. So I think that's what they're trying to correct here.
Okay, hopefully it's nothing more than that. It's Brian Heitkotter, an absolute star for Nissan for many, many years. Won that GT Academy contest that Gran Turismo and Nissan were a part of for many years, and it helped jumpstart a lot of careers. Lucas Ordóñez comes to mind, and Jan Mardenbroek. There's a new movie coming out about his journey through that.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, it's about to wrap up production, I think, and should be coming out this year if memory serves. But he's another one of those that came through that video game to real life racer development system, and Brian Heitkotter made a nice career for himself. Hasn't had too many chances to go racing in recent years. Told me he's done some club racing and stuff like that to stay sharp, some karting, and a lot of sim racing, of course. And if you were with us back in 2020 during the shutdown when we had our GT Rivals esports series on Assetto Corsa Competizione, Brian Heitkotter was the runaway champion in that. So that's when I kind of got to know him a little bit. And as soon as he heard this new Nissan GT4 car was in production, he was on the horn to all of his contacts at Nissan saying, I need to be a part of this.
Yeah, he deserves that opportunity because he's a really solid driver. And I mean, you know, as you talked about, kind of one of the first superstars to come to our game out of the sim world, but now it's such a part of everyone's preparation for racing. Even some of the top pros who have a ton of experience will do it just to get track knowledge. It's so relevant now. I mean, the simulation is so accurate. It's a totally different world.
When he won that GT Academy US title, he beat out over 53,000 other competitors that year. Not going to see, even at the Nürburgring, you don't see fields that deep, right? 53,000. He was the one who came out on top, and like I said, had a nice career racing around the world as a benefit of that. And I think that was at the early days of people recognizing the value of the sim to training, not just learning new tracks, but training and learning some of the correct habits and things like that. Learning racecraft when there aren't the same kind of stakes that you have in a real-world car.
Yeah, I mean, it's prepping you, but there's nothing like the reality of suddenly being in the heat of competition here with real cars that don't have a reset button and the damage and danger that goes along with that.
Really cool to have him here. Not quite sure, again, what the issue was. That Nissan team didn't get a podium with one of their two cars, the Tech Sport entries at Sonoma.
Getting a chance here for one last dash for success here this afternoon.
Who do you have your eye on?
Well, I think you're correct. You called it in terms of Stevens. Is he liking this opportunity? Yes. I mean, it puts him closer to JCD, but as we've seen on restarts with his teammate, that Mercedes seemed vulnerable. And you know that Chandler Hull has been up on the wheel and kind of poking the bear a little bit in terms of trying to make a move on Mackay here in the middle phase of this race. So he'll see it as a great opportunity. Maxon aboard the Supra. That's shown great pace here today, the Copeland Motorsports entry.
Yes, it has. For my money, I am fascinated by the top three in Pro-Am right now. You've got Roman DeAngelis. We know how good he is, but he doesn't have a ton of seat time in this car. He leads in the class, and he has a couple of GT4 aces behind him, and Jason Hart and Aaron Povoleto. That could be interesting to keep an eye on. Once again, back to the pits in Amanda.
With Zach Anderson, JCD is in that BMW that is leading the field at the moment, and it looks like the BMWs perform pretty strong here in New Orleans. And what part of the track do you feel you guys really have the advantage?
Well, I mean, BOP is a big thing, so every week we've been, you know, kind of on the back foot with that for a long time. So this is the first weekend we've been able to show what the BMW package is capable of. The new G Series, the G generation, it's a monster compared to the F-Gen from last year. So much feel and feedback, and it's a really good race car. We missed the BOP window last race in Sonoma. We were, going full throttle, dropping the anchor. So we got power, and we're showing what we can do.
Zach was telling us before this interview, this is his first interview in quite a long time. Said there were many podiums last year, but not that top step. How can we make it 2 interviews today?
Yeah. Well, I mean, best inputs, best corners, input to input, 1 foot in front of the other. Me and JCD go way back. We've got a really cool history. Also want to say shout out Austin Smith, miss you, brother. We just need to do our job and eyes up. High eyes wins the prize. Thank you.
Big smile on his face. He's one of those guys that's just been scrapping for an opportunity like this one, and he's ready to take advantage of it. 9 podiums last year, to Amanda's point. Didn't get that race win, but maybe today is the day. Lights off on the safety car, and 9.5 minutes to go.
Yeah, this is going to be a little scuffle here, I feel, as we get down into turn 1. Hopefully we can just keep it green the rest of the way, but this is the stage of the race when the tension builds a little bit. Everyone sees opportunity with time running out.
And the update in the AM class, it continues to be Robert Mao leading the way, but James Clay only has 1 car in between him and the class leader. Then a couple cars back, you find a whole host of AM class cars with some fast drivers. That could get spicy too. Here we go into the VP acceleration zone. John Capestro Dubets, JCD, not waiting around. He's able to build that lead over Stevens. How good of the restart was it for Stevens? Can Hole make a pass around the outside? He's certainly going to give it a try into turn 1.
Watch Jason Hart, though. He's got the jump. He's got around DeAngelis. That's for class position lead. Can he hold it together? Yes, he does. What a move by the NOLA Sport entry.
Oh, you just knew if you've watched him race, he was going to make an attempt at it. He always hangs it out there, and he grabs the Pro-Am top spot. DeAngelis settles into second, but coming under pressure from Aaron Povolato. And further back in the field, boy, it is all mixed up. Here comes Povolato to the inside, trying to take second away from DeAngelis.
Wow, Roman DeAngelis fights back, though, gets back to the inside. Now he's got the 74 car protecting the lead of Jason Hart there in that bright yellow NOLA Sport Racing entry.
That was a beautiful restart from the Texan Jason Hart. He's won championships in back-to-back years with different co-drivers. He's reunited with Matt Travis here this year. Oh, you saw DeAngelis slide, a little understeer there, nearly got into the side of Povolato. And here comes John Jesbray. That's also for class position.
What a race we got going on here. Great respect, just enough breathing room to make it. That's how you need to coexist on a racetrack, even though you're racing hard.
We haven't talked about it much, but that Supra looming in the background is John Jesbray, former AM class champion. Oh, he had his hands full, nearly went around.
Everyone pushing here with just over 7 minutes to go. Late move there by Andy Lee aboard the 8 car. It's the battle for the lead right now. The 51 car, JCD has it. Mackay Stevens all over him. Chandler Hull didn't have the best initial jump on that restart, but he's right in the mix now, a little bit closer than he was the lap before. Can he make something happen down into turn 1?
7 minutes to go. BMW, Mercedes, BMW. Mackay Stevens, the beat in the Rondell sandwich at the moment. From attacker to defender he goes. Chandler Hull again trying the outside. Can he find grip? No, he cannot. Stevens holds onto the spot, and now this is an area of the track where the Mercedes can start to attack.
Yeah, he's going to go for it. He's got to push hard. Chandler Hull, though, is keeping him honest there. That's distracting Mackay Stevens' attack on the leader right now.
James Clay has caught Robert Mao for the AM class lead, but the lead overall is in the balance. Stevens carving the inside, but now stuck on the outside. Can he hang tough around the outside of John Capestro Dubets?
Watch for Chandler Hull there. Does it open up the door? Mackay Stevens gets to the outside flank. He has to give it up a little bit. JCD hangs on. He's up and over the curves. Mackay Stevens uses all of the road and a bit more. Does he grab the lead?
This is the stuff Mackay Stevens dreamed about when he was working as a painter in Chicago and was Googling how to be a racing driver. Well, Mackay, you're fighting for the lead, but now you're fighting for second. Looking to the inside again is Hull. He gets checked up. That's going to check up Hart, and that brings Maxon into the picture.
Yeah, Hart's really in a conundrum here. What does he do? He'd love the overall win as well as the class victory, but he's got a little bit of a buffer. He's got a wingman right behind him in Maxon before DeAngelis can get back on the attack for that silver lead.
But not a willing wingman. Maxon wants by because he wants a shot at the top 3.
Pro-Am lead make that with the 24 and the 47.
Aaron Povoleto in the red Aston, hunting Roman DeAngelis. Oh, and a dive to the pit lane. Short stop, is that what we're seeing? No, I'm not sure what the penalty would be. But for whatever reason, from the lead in class, Jason Hart comes to the pits.
Technical issue, I don't see anything on the notice board regarding a penalty right now. We'll try and get clarification on that.
That puts DeAngelis back into the class lead, promotes Povoleto to second, and Jesbray up to third. Let's see if he's coming to his pit box or if it's just a drive-through.
That will tell the story if he stops or not.
Looks like a drive-through to me.
Wow.
Meanwhile, Mackay Stevens on the prowl yet again. Less than 5 minutes to go. Can't afford to be too patient here. But he's got to get by one of the best in a BMW M4 GT4 in JCD, John Capestro-Dubets.
Kai Stevens wants this win, wants to follow up on that sweep of the weekend in Sonoma. Pushing, 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 JCD hanging on.
Word from race control, it was a short pit stop for the NOLA Sport crew. You don't see them make that mistake very much. Here comes Hull. He's not done either. This is such a tough spot for Stevens. His car is strong in a much different area, and it leaves him vulnerable if he gets walked into 16.
Yeah, pushes big time there through turn 13, but keeps it together, just really trying to work over the lines here, see if he can figure out a way by and get the acceleration run, but this is where he's vulnerable. He's gapped Chandler Hull again. He can just focus forward right now, I believe.
Clay did take the M-Class lead last time by, getting by Robert Mao. Jaden Lander currently the final driver on the M-Class podium as they run. Mackay Stevens will not come under pressure from Hull this time into turn 1. That's a welcomed reprieve for the Chicago native as he still tries to plot his path around John Capestro-Dubets.
Andy Lee, he's having a brilliant run here aboard that Flying Lizard Racing entry number 8, the 511 machine. Went up against Tyler McQuarrie. So many great GT4 drivers in this field here this weekend.
That is just off the podium in Pro-Am, 4th and 5th. Oh, somebody locked up. Somebody went in deep. A couple of cars maybe coming together just behind this car. Looks like everyone was able to continue on. Look at Jerome Bleekemolen going the long way around the outside in that Artura from Black Swan.
What an exciting new entry with that McLaren in the championship this year. Jerome Bleekemolen, one of the top sports car drivers over the last decade or so.
He's driven just about any make and model you can imagine. This one is new to him, though, this year. It's new to everyone. Brand new car from McLaren, and it's a beauty. It's also pretty quick. Bleekemolen right now, 17th overall, but has a chance to maybe make up a little bit more ground.
He's pushing, pushing, pushing. One of the things when you have a gold-rated driver in your Pro-Am lineup, you do have a bit of a weight penalty you have to carry. I believe there's 3 cars in this field. So if you have a gold or platinum driver, gold driver, platinums are not allowed in GT4, but that means you have to carry a little bit weight, probably about 50 pounds or so on most of the cars, a 1.5% weight increase.
That was a move for position in AM. I think that was Kaye coming through on Mao. Let's check. Do we have a white flag this time by? We'll wait for confirmation. It was close. Top 3 running in lockstep.
I think it should be. Looking at the clock and what sort of lap times. Best laps are in the 144 range here, and I think we were shy of that to get back to the stripe.
And if I'm not mistaken, the white flag doesn't have to be displayed. If
Correct.
the clock is out and you cross the line, that's race over. If you're the overall leader.
Look at Mackay Stevens. Look at him work. What's he going to do here? Does he go to the outside? Does he try and cut it back under here?
Can't hang it out too wide, though, because Chandler Hull is looking to pounce.
JCD doing an awesome job just hanging on, digging deep.
Well, whichever of these 3 prevails, they'll have earned it today. This has been a dogfight at the front of the field here at NOLA Motorsports Park. Pirelli GT4 America at its best.
So early in the season, are you willing to commit risk versus reward? Be the hero, get the win, will be sitting on the side of the racetrack for Mackay Stevens. What he's got to think about if he tries to make a desperate move here in the final half lap, we believe.
Through the S's for what we think is the final time. No confirmation of that just yet. John Capestro-Dubet still shows the way. Oh, big move! Stevens sends it around the outside, and somehow he woes it up! Mackay Stevens, can he hold on? Looking to take the lead, just a couple of corners to go.
Incredible move. Can he hang on? Now he's wide. JCD goes to the inside. Keeps it clean so far, Mackay Stevens. Who's going to get the run to the line? BMW has the edge. Can he make it happen?
It's going to be a drag race to the checkered flag. Mackay Stevens made the lunge around the outside of John Capestro-Dubet's to the stripe. Stevens by 4 thousandths of a second. Chandler Hall comes home third. The top three all within the same 100th. Roman DeAngelis, in his debut in this car with this team here in this championship, gets the win ahead of Povaledo and Jesbray. And in AM, it's James Clay leading home Robert Mao. And not sure who the third one would be just yet, but let's look at this move again, Calvin. High commitment.
Wow, JCD thought he had him covered. Mackay saw the opportunity, sends it around the outside, then he's come through the final couple of corners. Watch this. As he comes through 15 right here, he gets a little bit wide, JCD keeps it clean, doesn't push it there, doesn't get into the side of him, but suddenly you got that BMW, he's got a little bit more straightaway speed. Mackay Stevens just hangs on at the stripe.
Unbelievable commitment. The three finish side by side, coming to the checkered flag in one of the best finishes you will see anywhere. Awesome. That is what GT4 racing is all about. Big grids, close competition, high drama.
What a talent. Mackay Stevens showcased it right there. Brilliant move. I mean, JCD thought, I'll just stick it to the middle of the road. Nowhere for him to go, protect that inside lane. He was thinking the inside was his last gasket opportunity. And Mackay just sends it around the outside. Just brilliant stuff. Keeps it together, hangs on, and keeps it clean.
Wow. Well, let's collect our breath after that thriller. You know what? It's a shame we only get one of these here this weekend. This track and these GT4 cars, and when you go green, last year admittedly it was stop and start, weather didn't really cooperate, but we got glimpses of what might be possible, and it was on full display today. How about the heart of racing? Busy weekend for them. Split focus across multiple championships on multiple continents. New driver alongside Gray Newell, and they don't skip a beat. And frankly, it all started with Gray's qualifying effort deep inside the top 10 overall.
Yeah, solid day for Gray, and great to see Roman DeAngelis got tremendous pace and just picked up the reins of a GT4 machine. Seamless, great result, 36 team. Great to see them back on top. They had a rough start to their season at Sonoma with that big incident in race 2.
And there's your winner of the AM class, James Clay, Charlie Postins in Bimmer World. Now you're going to see results that look a little bit different than they looked when they crossed the line. There were a number of teams that were issued time penalties for coming under the minimum pit stop delta. We'll talk more about that in a moment. And how that works in the regulations this year. But first, the highlights of a memorable race at NOLA Motorsports Park. This is how it started about an hour ago.
Yeah, Zach Anderson, a big jump there, gets around the pole sitter to the outside. Tyler there gets around our pole sitter, Jesse Webb. But they would recover for a brilliant day.
This was a big moment right there on the opening lap. 3 cars eliminated right away. We did get back to green flag racing, and when we did, well, it was elbows out a lot of the time, as it tends to be in this championship. This, though, was the move of the race, maybe of the year. Mackay Stevens on the final lap sends it around the outside, somehow got it to stick. Capestro-Dubet's fighting back on the inside, though. Had a bit of a slide there, and that might have been the difference. Even with the power advantage, Mackay Stevens got the run out of the final turn, and the top 3 finish side by side with less than a 100th of a second, covering the top 3 as they crossed the line. But like I said, a few cars were issued time penalties because they came in under the minimum in pit lane. if you come in within a certain window, it just becomes a time penalty, not a drive-through penalty. One of the cars affected by that was the 88 Chandler Hull, who finished 3rd on the road, but because of a time penalty got dropped down to 7th in the final order. This is a look at the provisional results, which does indeed factor in those time penalties that I was talking about earlier. Several cars were served those penalties, and that did shake up the results.
Certainly did. I think if it's under a second, is that multiplication of 5?
Yes.
Otherwise, you get the drive-through. So I think for the 40-17, they must have been more than a second outside of the min. And that really cost them dearly because they were with the show of a strong result. We saw them have the lead when he hit pit lane.
Exactly right. Now down a little further, and a couple cars that ran towards the front, including that ACI Motorsports car, Swearingen and Van Berlo. They too looked like they were in a position to challenge for a win. They too were hit with a penalty for a jump restart late in the race. Pro-Am results. Heart of Racing gets the job done. Roman DeAngelis, who has never raced on this track before, but he did represent Team Canada at the Rotec World Finals on the kart track here back in 2013. He said he's got happy memories of coming to this place. He just added to that memory bank. Great result along with Gray Newell. And here with the AM class, Postons and Clay, rinse and repeat. But Nelson Kaye had a great final stint, made his way up to 2nd. Lander and Gerazzi completing the podium in the AM class.
Those tracks are side by each, right?
Indeed.
Canadian reference there.
That's right. Now we passed it on our way in. I have to say it looks tempting. Love to get out there for a few laps, time permitting. Not sure it's going to happen today, though. With all the racing we still have to go. Fanatec GT still to come. That's Rihanna O'Meara Hunt from the sister car coming by to congratulate Roman DeAngelis, who along with Gray Newell picked up the win in Pro-Am, finished 4th overall as well. There's a look at the Canadian driver who has quickly made a name for himself all around the world. Gray Newell coming in to celebrate just on the left-hand side of the screen as well. Big thumbs up and a congratulations. This little partnership for the rest of the year. I mean, Ian James was a great partner for Gray. They've been working together for a while, but you add a driver of the caliber of Roman DeAngelis, a new voice, maybe some different feedback, that could really help Gray Newell.
Absolutely. It's and he's driven with this group for a while now, so it's a good chemistry. It's an easy fit, and what a day there.
Yeah, that's a happy bunch for sure. We had a change. Okay.
Yeah. Wow.
Interesting. So timing and scoring has been adjusted, and now it shows Autotechnic as the race winners. And we'll have to get some clarification as to why, but that would explain why John Capestra-Dubets and Zach Anderson are so excited. I hear a lot of thanks being shared around. Now, not all these cars have their transponders placed in the same spot, so in those really close finishes, sometimes you do have to go back and look. That's the best guess I've got at this stage. Hopefully we'll get some clarity as to what exactly transpired there on the final lap. It was a thrilling fight nevertheless between Capestra-Dubets and Stevens. And the report we got from Amanda is that JCD maybe wasn't sure that was the last lap of the race at the time. It was close, and we never saw the white flag, let's remember.
That's true.
So, you know, that definitely dictates how you position your car on that final lap. Let's hear from Amanda down there with JCD and Zach.
Goodness, I was just on pit lane with you, Zach, and it was just a tale of two emotions right now, but you're standing in the winner's circle. You've wanted this interview for quite a long time now. How hard has this been, venture?
Oh my gosh, this is years in the making. I mean, this goes back to 2019, pre-COVID, when me and JCD were at PECLA, Porsche Experience Center, sitting side by side, learning how to slide and do all this stuff. And man, I'm driving with the best friend. I'm driving with my boy. Autotechnic just preps an incredibly fast machine. We've been best BMW in this series for a while now. So to race with JCD and to get a victory finally overall, first silver victory, first overall win for me, incredible day.
I'm I'm trying to peek through those sunglasses to see the emotion that's behind there, JCD. And
I was trying to hide the tears.
Go through that last lap with us, you and Mackay.
I was actually told we had 2 to go, and I knew Mackay had a strong car in us in a lot of the technical sections. I had a little bit of a rear tire going down, so I was hanging on for dear life, and all I had to defend was to kind of park him up to hole. Mackay gave me so much room out there, so much respect. I know he's probably heartbroken to not think he got this one. I knew it was a drag race there to the line. I thought we had him, but man, he gave us a heck of a challenge, and he's one amazing race car driver, and to come away with the win from a team like that's a huge accomplishment, and to do it with my best friend is it's huge. And it's been a long road coming for us here, and we felt like we've had a couple hard races the last couple ones, so this definitely gets our mojo back, and we're looking forward to the next one.
We talk about Mojo, the Harder Racing team. They started on pole and they were able to reclaim the victory here in Gray based on your qualifying is what got that Aston Martin to the top of this field to kick off this race. When you reflect on this one, what was the key to this victory?
Well, I've been working a lot on my outright pace. This is my first race with Roman, sort of my co-conspirator and coach. He's been giving me some really good theory to apply. I haven't managed to have a lot of time in the car over the past few months, so just keep moving forward and keep pushing harder, and it's working. So yeah, happy to go and get a result this weekend.
Well, Roman, welcome to the team. Is this how you saw this first weekend unfolding?
Yeah, I was hoping it would go this way. Would have been nice to race yesterday. Obviously the weather permitted that for us, but yeah, good way to start. Bit of a messy race, so kind of need to get used to the style of racing here, but plenty of time left to do that this year, and a good way to start. So
welcome back. Congratulations, guys. Thank you. And then we got one more winners interview to wrap this one up. Back where they said they wanted to be. And James, to get victory here, you guys come in as the reigning champs. You know a target is on your back. Sonoma, sure we'll forget this one. But how does this one set forward for this season?
It's a great restart to our year. That's not the plan. We're not so worried about what a strategy is or whatever. We did so well last year by putting our head down, but it's great to come off of a track at Sonoma that wasn't maybe so good for the BMWs, come to this track that is good, have a top result, and we just need some more of those this year, and I'm confident we'll get them.
Charlie, it was obvious there's going to be some thorns in y'all's side this season based on the racing we saw today. How do you keep everyone behind you?
Well, actually, I didn't, and I left that all to James. I've got to say, this is a team sport. And yes, we have a much stronger field this year, and it's showing. But this one's down to James. He drove a storming race, and it's awesome to be driving alongside him. And as James said, I'm hoping that this lays a foundation for more business as usual for the rest of the year.
Great to hear from all of our race winners. While we were doing that, you did see a replay. Let's look at it again. It was a photo finish, and as I talked about, the transponders aren't placed in exactly the same spot in all of these cars, and sometimes it comes down to looking at a still shot, at a photographer's photo, to determine who won, and by a nose. Auto Technic.
So close. Mackay Stevens has just got to be devastated because the move he put together there was incredible.
It was a memorable weekend, that's for sure. Just one race for Pirelli GT4 America, but it was a barn burner. For Cal and Amanda, I'm Ryan. Thanks for watching.